What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, and this morning we are talking Clayton Kershaw. If you watched the game last night, obviously not one of Kershaw's better performances. His final line, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned, 5 walks, and 3 strikeouts. That was in a 6-3 loss to the Miami Marlins. So this morning I want to just take a look at what exactly is happening with Clayton Kershaw. Dave Roberts has indicated that Kershaw is pitching through a shoulder injury. And so the question is, how effective can Clayton Kershaw be? As we did our post-game show last night, which if you missed it, was a great show. We talked through all the velocity stuff. We talked through playoff rotation. Who do you trust? Who do you not trust? What's the fallout for Julio? So if you missed it, go back and watch that or listen to it via podcast. But today I want to kind of take a deep breath. We're not in the moment of last night, having just seen Kershaw struggle, the velocity, all that kind of thing. Let's take a step back and say, what do the Dodgers actually have in Clayton Kershaw right now? I mentioned last night the stat line, 5 walks last night. He had 5 walks in the 4 starts combined prior to last night. It's only the second time since August of 2019 that he's had 5 walks in a game. And that other time, by the way, was this season. But let's get into some of the numbers. And these are the ones that you've probably heard if you've been following the Dodgers. And more specifically, Clayton Kershaw. Let's talk velocity. Here's Clayton Kershaw's average pitch velocity by game. This is a 4-seam fastball. Now, you'll note in the middle there, he missed all of the month of July, and he's made now 5 starts since coming back. So when you look at this chart, sort of the right side is where we are going to be looking. And you don't need to be a mathematician or a statistician to figure out what's going on here. The fastball velocity for Clayton Kershaw is on the decline, and it's declining fast. His season average this year is 90.9 mile an hour fastball. Here are those numbers since coming back from the injured list: 90.7, 90.7, 90.4. So that was 10th, 16th, and 24th of August. But then August 29th, it drops to 89.5. So that's more than a mile an hour less than his season average. And then last night, 88.2 miles an hour. That was the lowest of his career, the second lowest of his career. Was last night. So just to put that in perspective, when you think about it, 88.2, StatCast updated their numbers. Sorry. It was the lowest mark of his career. His fastball has never been slower than it was last night. They had a few of those graded as a sinker. They've now counted them as fastballs. So 88.2 miles an hour. That's 2.5 miles an hour, 2.7 miles an hour below his season average. 2.7 miles an hour. That's just on the fastball. If we go to his slider, it's the exact same story here. It's a sharp decline. And part of this would be expected if the fastball is going to be slower, the slider is going to be slower. And yet the failure to be able to differentiate these two pitches significantly is what has made Kershaw's struggles so interesting to me. As a result, I'm going to pull that off real quick. As a result, this is why, if I have slight optimism for Clayton Kershaw, it's because Clayton Kershaw, uniquely enough, is going to try and reinvent himself on the fly as a result of this. He knows the fastball isn't there. If you look at his pitch mix for the season, he's throwing 43% sliders, 37% fastballs, and about 18% curveballs. And that's it. The changeup, he's throwing 1.6% of the time. So he's a 3-pitch pitcher, except for the last couple of games. Let me show you his pitch mix over the last couple of games. Let me see if I have it here. Here we go. Here's his pitch mix. So you see the yellow, the slider, the dominant pitch. It's actually not been the dominant pitch his last 2 starts. You see the blue, the curveball, holding roughly steady. And then there's that green line at the bottom. Ignore the orange because, again, I think the sinkers have been reclassified as fastballs. But the green line comes out of nowhere. That's a changeup. Clayton Kershaw has only thrown like 27 changeups on the entire season. 14 of those have been in his last 2 starts. So take a look at this. He throws 43% sliders typically. Here are those numbers since coming back from the injured list: 39%, 48%, 42%. But then listen to these. The last 2 starts, 34%, 35%. Throwing way less sliders. Well, what about the fastball? Normally 37%. He's thrown 37, 32, 36, 41, 38% of late. So fastball holding strong. Curveball, again, hasn't changed much. It's the changeup. He's taking out sliders and replacing them with changeups. He's thrown 8% changeups. Yesterday, he threw 6% changeups in the start before that. And so that's like, if I have some reason for optimism, and this may sound weird to you, It's that Clayton Kershaw is trying to reinvent himself on the fly. He's trying to learn a changeup. He's trying to mix it in to a pitch mix. He's not going to go sit and rest. Kershaw says, give me outings, give me chances to try and experiment with the changeup, with some of these other pitches to try and mix some things up because he knows the fastball is not getting it done and he knows the slider's not getting it done. And so I think that's the storyline to watch with Clayton Kershaw. They're not going to put him on the injured list. There's not a time, as Matt Moreno said on our show last night, there's not enough time to sit him out for 2 weeks and then try and build him back up. And with Julio Urias likely out for the rest of the season, the Dodgers need Clayton Kershaw and they need some version of it. The results have been good, by the way. If you look at some of the numbers, here's his hard hit rate by game. I've got the season average line in there, 37.8. 2 of the 5 starts he's had since coming back are below average, below his season average. So I don't think it's all bad. If you want to look at expected batting average, kind of the same thing. Season average is 232. 3 of the 5 starts that he's had since coming back, including his last one, 829, when the velocity was already starting to dip. You can see that the expected batting average in that game was dramatically lower. So part of me wants to say, hey, don't overreact to Clayton Kershaw's actual box score results last night, because the box score results, the 4 starts prior to that, had been very good. 1 earned run, 3 hits in basically every single one of those games. But it's going to be interesting. The velocity is not going to come back from Kershaw. He's not going to show up here 6 days from now and be throwing 91-mile-an-hour fastballs. It's probably going to be sitting in that 88, maybe 89, maybe it ticks up a little bit range. The question is, can he learn to throw the changeup? Can he mix and match and limit hard contact? Because that's going to be the name of the game for Kershaw. It's not going to be overpowering. It's not even going to be devastating sliders necessarily. It's going to be mix and match, keep batters off balance, limit the hard contact. And look, here's what I would say in closing this morning. If there's anybody in Major League Baseball that can do it, if there's anybody that I trust to try and figure this out on the fly, it's the GOAT. It's Clayton Kershaw. This guy has been learning to pitch. His fastball velocity disappeared. Everyone said, oh my goodness, that's a career ender. He's not throwing 95. Well, guess what? He's been throwing 90 miles an hour and has the best ERA in baseball. So if anybody can do it, it's Clayton Kershaw. But Dodger fans, we're going to have to see whether or not he's going to be able to figure out. There may be some bumps along the road. Now is when we just cross our fingers and hope that by the time the postseason rolls around, Clayton Kershaw has got it figured out. Again, my name is Jeff Spiegel. This is DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. If you're new, please subscribe, ring the notification bell. We've got videos like this coming out constantly. If you missed our show last night, again, go check it out. We talked through starting rotation. Who do we trust? Is Lance Lynn going to be on the rotation? Is Bobby Miller a game 1 starter? Is maybe Walker Buehler sneaking into that conversation as he gets healthy? A great conversation with Matt and Scott. If you're a podcast person, you can search DodgerHeads on Apple, Spotify, or Google. Again, appreciate you joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And as always, go Dodgers.